Thanks a lot for coming. It's extremely hard to follow up such epic music, but I will say, John, the world is so small. 15, 20 years ago, I was at a party in West Hollywood. I met, I don't think it was you, but someone who made coffee for Hans Zimmer. And it was, it was apparently very white and very sweet. Is that right?
Okay, the coffee or
the coffee. Yeah.
I knew about my boss. My boss is Klaus brother.
Ah.
And he did not like white or sweet.
Okay, but apparently Hans Zimmer liked it.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do my best to follow up with such an exciting talk. I'll put on a lurid hat, given the topic. Something that I'll have trouble wearing at Kyushu University. I'll be giving a more academic version of this talk on Wednesday online, if this is not enough for you yet. Before I start on GIFs, gigs, and grifts, Burning Man and the global tech economy, has anyone here been to Burning Man? Any Burning Man event? Okay, great. Yeah?
Yeah, Japan one.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, it's as real as any. Has anyone here heard of Burning Man? All right. Anyone wanted to go? Okay, let me know if you want to go. I might recommend it. Burning Man every year now since 1990 in the desert, people go to the desert to build a city. And this is usually an empty desert, a dry lake bed. In Nevada, in the desert of the US. In fact, it's the longest, flattest stretch of land in North America. You can drive for hours and hours and hours and still not hit the mountains on the distant horizon. And so usually the desert is empty, cracked ground, but every year at the end of August, now 80,000 people go build a city. It's a city with streets, a city with radio stations, a city with newspapers, a city with dance clubs. And it's all a gift. You do need a ticket. You might pay for this. You might get it as a gift, but you need a ticket to enter. And once you're in there, again, there's no money circulating. It's a gift economy. So imagine what it's like to, like you show up in this bar and it's like, drink my beer. Please drink my beer. I've got too much. I don't want to bring it home. Come to my dance club. Come make movies with me. Again, it's all a gift. So a very different way of relating. You can leave your wallet at home and just enjoy life, mediated not through money, but through a notion of gifting. So every year, after this week is up, the event disappears. And you can see here in this image what it looks like from the sky. So 80,000 people in a city that's on a clock from 2 o'clock here to 10 o'clock, and in the middle is this big kind of man statue here. That burns on a Saturday night for no reason that anyone will tell you why. This event was founded by Larry Harvey, interesting gentleman who actually has been to Japan and Taiwan, had a very big influence on him. We can talk about that if you're curious. And Burning Man has gone global. There is a Burners Without Borders organization. You can see my shirt here, silk screened. So this started as a relief organization in 2004. A lot of us were out there, didn't realize there was a hurricane that destroyed much of New Orleans and Mississippi. So many burners went, brought their equipment, rebuilt a Vietnamese temple in Mississippi. This is one example of how Burning Man has gone global. You could say it's a utopian experiment in the world, but it's also had some other very interesting effects. Yeah?
All the kind of buildings that you see in the top, are those buildings, tents?
There's tents, there's cars, there's gigantic domes, there's big installations. There's a whole lot. And then this kind of pentagon around it it's a trash fence to catch things that blow, because that's a leave no trace event. And so that's the bounds of the city is the Pentagon. And then there's an airport over here, one of the busiest airfields in Nevada for a week. So it's a city. It's a city. You know, my kids play house. We play city. And not just us burners. I mean, these are burners too. The people who built Silicon Valley, these brands that you use and you're reliant on, they went to Burning Man too. So the very first Google Doodle, you've seen the holiday doodles, Christmas, Thanksgiving, some scientist's birthday. The very first Google Doodle was of Burning Man. It was in 1998 to let people know that Sergey Brin and Larry Page, the two Google co-founders, were out of the office. Basically, don't expect to get emailed back. And they also picked the very first CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, because he was the only one of 5 sort of qualified candidates who had been to Burning Man. In the subsequent years, they built their whole corporate culture around Burning Man. This is you can go to their office and see the art in their spaces. You can see the art they actually later commissioned Burning Man to do. This is wild. In the meantime, you have Elon Musk in 2014 saying to, he's a premiere for the Silicon Valley TV show. He's like, you guys don't understand Silicon Valley. Burning Man is Silicon Valley. So Elon has been going since also the late 90s, and he meant this as a compliment. So this isn't really a metaphor, it's really a personnel list. You can follow these networks. Who am I to talk about this? So I'm a scholar without a discipline. I'm in this thing called the Institute for Advanced Study. I've been trained in disciplines, but I don't really care anymore. And I'm an artist who doesn't draw. This is some of my art, installation art. I've been going since 2001. So since I finished college, I went straight out there. So before it was known as this kind of tech hype place. I was the first regional contact in Asia. So I was appointed to represent Burning Man in 2004 within Taiwan and then in China. So I started some of the first events in these places. I continue to have a function within Burning Man. I have a certain position. It's volunteer. It's a gift. I built this art. This is making fun of familiar brands that you might know, and the iMan, the iGift. In 2015, as I was thinking about some of the things we'll be talking about tonight, Foxconn, the factory in the back, if you want to make your stuff. So yeah, also I took Larry Harvey, the founder, around Taiwan, and we've had many conversations. So I'm not really a neutral observer, and this fits also with the way I do academic research. I tend to really participate in the stuff that I think and write about. So having been involved with this before I was an academic, but also becoming an academic in the meantime, actually nearly working for Burning Man as director of research, which would have been a very different career, I've been thinking about how to bring these worlds together. And I think Burning Man's really consequential. And this came clear particularly in 2023. Perhaps if you saw the news, you might have seen that there was an epic rainstorm. The whole playa turned to mud. A few days before the playa turned to mud, I was at the opening of this piece, Tip of the Iceberg, a 10-meter tall clitoris made of stone, steel, and cement with pyrite shimmering. So this is an anatomically exact clitoris. You usually see just the tip, but this is, get to see the whole body of it. This was meant as a kind of a feminist piece about the relationship between mothers and Mother Earth, honoring moisture, honoring pleasure, and then 3 days later, what happens? The sky opens, the rain comes down, a rainbow appears. At the opening, it was a very glitzy affair. I'm pretty sure I saw some Google founders. A crypto billionaire came, and he gave me this. Actually, I'd met him in Tokyo a few years before that. He didn't recognize me. But still, like everything at Burning Man, it's, he came in just, he's like, hi, I'm Brock. I have a gift for you. And he put this around my neck. It's a prism. It's a prism with a kaleidoscope. And after getting this, I've started seeing Burning Man and kind of the world in a different way. It doesn't really show you the light, but it splits it. So as I said, I've been going for about 25 years. I build installations there. I'm part of this economy I'm about to be talking about, which I think is useful not just for Burning Man, but for thinking about the world maybe in general. Burning Man, it's a gift economy, right? I'm here, I'm talking at Nerd Night, I'm doing this for free. There's staff here who are getting paid, they're gigging in a way. Raymond is perhaps grifting on me. If John and I, if we do well at these talks, if you like it, Raymond in some way accrues some kind of surplus value, right?
Not monetary, but something.
Yeah, some kind of value, right? So a gift it's freely given. There's nothing necessarily expected in return. Maybe it's a reciprocal obligation, or maybe it circulates. Yeah. And so the gift economy really builds the social infrastructure that everything at Burning Man, or perhaps society in general, relies on, especially before we lived in cities. Meanwhile, we have a gig, right? People more or less know the terms. Like they're paid however much per hour for the beer. You've paid for your ticket here. It's kind of a clear, transparent transaction. We're kind of honest about it. And then meanwhile, there's just the grift, okay? So you don't necessarily see a grift happening even when you're grifting, Raymond is doing this out of the kindness of his heart, but perhaps you'll make a fortune in some way. There's no single transaction that reveals it. Okay, so I'm thinking here to use a fancy word, a trialectic. This isn't a dialectic; it's a trialectic. There's three movements happening at the same time, simultaneously, and they may overlap, they may become each other, and they may contradict each other. So I want us to think about these three G's. And this is the first time I've talked about this, so I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you. Because the gift is real. My talk here is real. Nothing works without it. It's freely given. The notion of the gift was borrowed by Larry Harvey, probably one of the smartest people I've met, the founder of Burning Man, who read this wonderful book, The Gift by Lewis Hyde. And he takes this notion of the gift, he builds a city around it. This is a beautiful piece. This was the very first artist from Ukraine to build a giant piece. You can see these kids connecting despite alienation. 2015, quite a year for the Ukrainians to make this. This gift economy came to Japan. So you've been to this event. It's not 80,000 people, about 500 people this year. Great fun. Last year's theme was the floating world. Incidentally, was also the theme of the big city event in 2002. Yeah, my second year. But you can see cute Japanese things. There's a UFO, space disco. This was the phoenix that burned. So it's kind of a modular culture. It exports. This is great fun. So this was in Gunma. It will be in Gunma again this year. It started in Chiba 10 years ago. So the export inherits this logic. Meanwhile, we have a gig. So Burning Man is all gifts, but gradually you have to start kind of paying the workers, right? There's people who have to keep coming back to do certain very difficult jobs, maybe heavy machine equipment or like. So the gift economy, it proves that strangers can trust strangers. And meanwhile, the thing about Burning Man, Silicon Valley overlap of people, this became very convenient as a business model, right? Not just at Burning Man, but more broadly. And we can look at this between two different apps, two different communities that also came their way through Burning Man in the 2000s. Did anyone here ever couch surf? Yeah, couch surfing was great, right? It was super fun. I used to do this all the time in the early 2000s, you as well. Couch surfing was conceived in Iceland, but it really was proliferated in Burning Man. There were couch surfing camps. Casey Fenton, the founder, was busy. It was big there, and it was a gift, right? In the meantime, Airbnb had more or less the same idea, and they monetized it. They charge $80 a night for your air mattress in San Francisco. Within 17 years, couch surfing is bankrupt. Airbnb is worth $100 billion. The same people who did these apps were also at Burning Man, thinking in slightly different ways. The grift here, as I mentioned, you don't need to know what's happening. The surplus is accumulating far enough away. Silicon Valley gets to appropriate these gifts of Burning Man. You don't need to do it maliciously. Burning Man itself is cleaned up. You don't even know the event happened by October. But meanwhile, there's a surplus that accumulates somewhere. And then the surplus might also want to get just created out of nowhere. Like 8 years ago, I got contacted by these Chinese artists who paid someone to build this gigantic Mongolian statue, which they shipped to the main burn, take photos with the Chinese flag, use this to promote a knockoff Chinese event. This is not like Burning Japan. It's not something kind of coordinated with the San Francisco people. This was just like out of nowhere. They copied the urban map. In the meantime, you have an amusement park. This is a colorful world. They'll make like the Eiffel Tower, the pyramids. But here they're burning the man for only 50 RMB. You can go see the man burn for about 1,000 yen. Again, there's no, so this is what I call a Sanzai burn. So they're just copying the vibe. Very interesting scene. So, is that a grift? Perhaps. But in the meantime, the official burners start doing some, what I might call very grifty things. So you've got Burning Man. There's a gift economy. There's a cultural logic. You have couch surfing. It becomes Airbnb. It becomes platform capitalism. It's taking the gift and the grift and scaling it up. In the meantime, Burning Man goes from being a small, kind of personally held LLC company. It becomes a nonprofit. And then a donor class gets involved. You have boards of directors. You have funders buying property and the like on behalf of Burning Man. And then you start seeing some wild human flows. So Sergey Brin showing up in the White House with his burner girlfriend. prancing around Mar-a-Lago. This is someone who was an immigrant himself, who was protesting the Trump election in 2016, but gets brought in. Elon Musk, 19-year burner by now. The same person who says Silicon Valley is Burning Man, bankrolling this president, and then bringing his buddy, Joe Gebbia, who's also a longtime burner, Airbnb co-founder, a donor to Burning Man, bringing him into Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, named after a meme coin, which then goes and cuts USAID and whatever else. So you've got a playa-to-White House pipeline. It's not, again, not a metaphor, it's a personnel list. So, yeah, it's pretty severe for a lot of us who've been burning as a gift for quite some time to see this. Think about AI now. So what are some leading companies doing AI and taking our gifts, right? We've got, well, certainly Google, right? ChatGPT, Anthropic, right? Sam Altman's been to Burning Man. Mark Zuckerberg's been to Burning Man. I could go on and on and on. And we can think again about how the grift economy maps from that desert space to what we're up to now, right? We've got large language models trained on human writing. Anyone here who's written a book, written an article, it's been absorbed. I get to now use AIs to understand my own writing, right? I get to use AIs to generate this image for this talk. So this, as I'm preparing for today's talk on Google Slides offers to make me this image. How nice. And in the meantime, they say, help me visualize. I'm like, all right, help me visualize. And then after they visualize, and I kept this in on purpose, presentation content may be used, right? So it's taking my content, and then it's going to sell it back to me and all of you later, right? So Burning Man leaves no trace, but really here it is leaving a trace. It's leaving it. Oh, is that my phone? Yeah, see, is Google, yeah, Google is listening to me right now on my phone. I better turn that off. Okay, so there is a trace, right? The trace is in the weights, it's in the models. So I hope you're uncomfortable yet. You know, I hope, you're posting on contents that platforms on you don't own. Whatever you've written, whatever you said has trained these models. Sometimes you get paid, sometimes you pay. And you're probably also profiting from someone else's labor in some way, right? So what I'd like to suggest here is that gifting, gigging, and grifting, I'm not pointing fingers. We're all doing this all at the same time in some way. Maybe this is a broader way to think about how we interact, how economies work, how cultures get monetized or valued, and whatever else. So the broader takeaway I'd like to take from this, and also our interaction, is this becomes a book, is that the world's workshopped at Black Rock City, at Burning Man, are inheriting us. That basically the story is not just a story of a desert festival, some big fire. This piece, by the way, is a meditating man made on Playa 13 years ago. But actually the worlds there, Black Rock City, Burning Man, are really the models for the wild fires that we're living through and creating together today. And this leads to the name of a book that I'm working on, Burning Empire, Gifts, Gigs, and Grifts in the Making. Actually, that's not quite right. Gifts, Gigs, and Grifts of the Digital Desert, something like that. Incidentally, why Empire? There's a town about 20 kilometers away from the Black Rock City event site. It was a mining town. If anyone's seen the film Nomadland, perhaps you made a trailer for it. A number of its scenes are set there. It's an old company town, and it was shut down in the wake of the Great Recession. So people, by necessity, turned to living on the road, gigging at Amazon fulfillment centers, and in the meantime, us burners or whoever continue going into that desert, building it up, and extracting, grifting on all of your labor as we continue gigging and gifting on it. And so that is my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ian. Floor is open for questions. Oh my God, I have so many. Go ahead, man.
Elon Musk is not really, doesn't really fit the model, right? He's an old school grifter. Like, he takes from the federal government, right? He doesn't really, Tesla, SpaceX, all this is basically government money, no?
Yes and no. I mean, he's also gigging in a way. Like, some of these things are very profitable. Twitter, which he bought and has destroyed, is an accumulation. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we could debate whether he's gifting or gigging all along the way. I think a lot of his business models are certainly distinct from Google and the like, but the talent, the circulation of talent between these companies and the relations between these cities, I think is something that he also gifts stuff to Burning Man in a way. Not as, like Sergey, the Google co-founder, he gifts community bikes. Elon pays for stupid art.
It's about vibe. It's about they telling us, like, I mean, I'm thinking of from what it's like 20 ideology.
Yeah.
It's about vibe. It's about like we're spiritual and we're different and we don't like the old grifters.
I've never heard of him talking about it in a spiritual sense.
No, he's not. But
yeah.
It's part of the group. I mean, that's why
yeah.
I didn't understand why he's there.
Why he's there?
An asshole.
Okay, so
yeah. But he's just an old school asshole.
Yeah. But it's complicated too. He made a large donation, and then Burning Man put his brother Kimball on the board. Kimball has now stepped down a few months ago, just before his name was released in the Epstein file dump. So these, you know, there's
Epstein?
Yeah, who's that guy? Yeah. So yeah, we could talk about the different industrialists, but yeah, you could argue that he's an old school grifter.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just trying to make trouble.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Go ahead, and then we'll go.
Do you think that Burning Man itself has managed to resist the encroachment of capitalism? And if so, how?
So when I first started going, I felt like I was truly somewhere else. I mean, there's a trash fence, like really when you're in there, and still, you know, there really isn't money changing hands. Like people will cover up the logos on their cars. Like you're in what feels like a decommodified space. So you can live in a fantasy that you're in a separate space, and in a way you are. I mean, experientially, it's not that. But if you think farther, I mean, this is why I made a piece about a Chinese factory. I mean, this was almost certainly made in China, right? If you think farther, of course, all of this is relying on capitalism in some way. But so is, you know, like this is how things get produced and funded and whatever else. Has the organization itself changed? I mean, it was actually a for-profit company, and Larry called it a no-profit company, but it was an LLC, a limited liability company, until 2014 when it became a nonprofit. So this is very interesting. I would argue, based on all kinds of things I know in the book, that actually the nonprofit conversion was itself a grift, and that before maybe the company was a gift. You know, it's hard to know. But it is a nonprofit. The only reason people knew, outsiders knew, that Kimball Musk was on the board is because that was in the tax filing. This is very strange. Every other director's on there. So there's, you know, I mean, people, it's gotten more spectacular over the years, but the gift economy, decommodification, these principles continue, even as the ticket price has gotten stupid. The ticket price is still a small fraction of what you would spend to go. Yeah.
How much is it?
It depends when you buy it, and as I'm saying, if you want to go, let me know, because the prices are shifting. But it's something like $500 or $600 now for a ticket, which, all things considered, you compare it to a music festival or something, it's actually not that expensive. But
music festival is bad.
You compare it to Coachella or something, and there's a lot more going on, but a lot more is asked of you. I mean, you need to bring everything you need. Yeah.
Is your argument that Burning Man is something new and unusual that merits study as an isolated phenomenon? Or alternatively, it's basically merely a case study of a general phenomenon that's been going on in human societies forever and ever, with different names?
Both.
Both.
Yeah, both. So I'd like to think that this Grifts framework that I've developed for Burning Man in particular has a broader remit. It can apply to more ways of thinking about political economy. I was thinking, I've been thinking for a while, if Marx was in London thinking about the world, I'd like to think I'm in Black Rock City thinking about the cutting edge of capitalism. It doesn't say it's capitalism. I would say that the models, the worlds of Silicon Valley really were workshopped in Black Rock City at Burning Man. So in its own right, it's interesting. People have researched it in terms of kind of religious qualities, theatrical qualities, pro-social aspects. Psychologists go there and they find that people who go to Burning Man actually come out more generous. And it really has to do with the gift economy. It's not using money for a week. But at the same time, like, crazy stuff happens. And Airbnb comes, whatever else. So I'd say both.
that means that maybe if you step back in time, go back to say the Roman Empire, you may be able to find something
Sure.
structurally similar to
So
this.
for example, Larry, who wrote the themes until he died, he was trying to think about how to reform the 1%. How did Florence handle its wealthy people? Well, they extracted money to make art. So he was busy reading books about the Medici family and so on. So yeah, there's similar things at work. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anybody on this side? Okay, go ahead.
Talk about tonight, but do you feel like gifts, gigs, and grifts, it goes from good to kind
No.
of bad? No. Okay, there's no morality.
I'm not pointing fingers. I'm
Yeah.
I'm rubbing art pieces. Yeah.
So do you find that after the gift giving kind of like scenario, people move into like a different place, or do they kind of go in circles, or like, do they eventually end up in grifts?
Yeah. So I'm thinking here that structurally, there are different structural positions, right? Gifting, gigging, and grifting, and I want to move. I know grifting sounds bad. It sounds pejorative in English, but I want to move away from that. It's not bad. I mean, you could say it's parasitic on a gift, but without grifting in some ways, that value of the gift is not going to cohere in a particular time and place. So I think that it's always a moving position, and from your different point of view, you might see different aspects of it. And when you're in a more of a gig or a gift mode, you might not see the grift that you're performing. So to use some fancy words, it's sort of an epistemological move. It's a way of seeing, but also a way of being. It's ontology or structure. So depending on what you're looking at, but also remembering that there is something structural happening. Like someone owns a trademark. Someone owns the land, right? It's not just a point of view. There is something real happening underneath.
But it's specifically made for the gift side, not the grift side.
The event. Oh, that just makes it more effective as a grift.
Very nice.
And it takes a certain amount of like I guess willingness to look in the mirror or look on the desert to see the gifter, the gigger, and the grifter all in the same face.
You still think they're the good guys, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're using terms like surplus and accumulation.
Yeah.
You're also popping off.
Sure.
We're in the same field, geography.
Mm.
And I'm also a QDI, so I'm a grad school QDI, so I'll talk later about that. Are you also saying that maybe Burning Man as a city is somewhat of a capital fix for a lot of the surplus value that's being kind of generated on Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
So, because you touched about that on the Indiana thing, right? We're going to do all our extra tax. So it's...
Yeah, so thank you for using a geography term. So spatial fix is a term from a different Harvey, David Harvey, not Larry Harvey, but David Harvey, to think about where excess capital goes in space. Very good question. It's tricky because it's wiped clean, right? So that surplus value is perhaps fixed for a week in time and then moves. We could also think about it not in David Harveyan terms, but like in Bataillean terms as a excess or a share that needs to be destroyed, like a potlatch by which one accrues legitimacy. We can also think of it as, again, as a model for export. So a slide I don't have is the Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Romer going to Burning Man. New York Times has an amazing piece about this where he sees Burning Man as a model to export to Honduras for pop-ups. For real. This is a guy who is World Bank chief economist for a while. So is that a spatial fix? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like more of a sink. Like a sink, because if the goal is to prevent capital from going other places to over commodify different areas, it's sort of a more of a benign use of capital that's looking to go somewhere.
Yeah, again, I don't want to argue what's benign or malicious.
I'm
but
trying to use an analytical term.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the background here, there's Harvey, there's Lefebvre, there's Cartatone, there's a lot in here. But the way it's working into this book for a general audience is I'm using the desert itself, the sand, the dust, the deposits, rather than being explicit. Just the tip. Yeah.
I do have a question. So, what is the difference in attendees between the ones you see at the main Burning Man and the ones you see in Japan and all across the world? Is it the same kind of diaspora that you see, or are they coming in with different philosophies, even though it's like It's pretty massive. It probably has like this one
Thanks.
idea, but
Yeah.
how is Japan different
Yeah.
or similar?
So there's especially a twinning or a shadowing between San Francisco and Black Rock City. They're close enough, the scenes came from that. And as San Francisco has changed, Black Rock City has changed. And that's been a reinforcing loop. In most of the regionals, like in Japan, you don't meet as many tech bros. And in New Zealand, that would be the first international event. Again, like you meet people more reflective of people in New Zealand. If the China burn, which I had a hand in starting, the landlord was very excited we were there because in the news, in the China news, they think about crypto or tech or whatever. So he started posting on WeChat that like the world's elites of tech have converged. Not really. It's like, you know, there's like generally like kind of like arty, hipster, upper middle class Chinese people, and then like expats, about half-half. So it really depends on the place. In Gunma, it's mostly Japanese. There's like maybe 90% Japanese, and I would say middle class Japanese from a variety of professions. Some foreigners. So it's Black Rock City in particular that has this point of view. The regionals, a lot of the regional contexts tend to be very starry-eyed, very focused on their local communities. It's a little bit different priorities than the more Bay Area. Yeah.
That's really interesting how Yuma is
Yeah.
so much different.
Yeah, well, it started in Chiba on a beach near a hotel, and it was just like knocking to the neighbors. And so they've been between Gunma, Niigata, and Gunma again. Yeah, it was cold, but very, very fun.
If I remember correctly, that's where they do the Sentai Hero explosion.
Oh, that
I don't know.
Quarry?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rock quarry where they, the robots split up.
I think they've moved venue a couple times.
Oh,
I've only been
but,
once.
But when I
Yeah.
went there, I was like, oh, see, this is where like the Red Ranger, does a backflip and yeah, it was very
It was like a sloping grassy field, and all the theme camps were pretty close together. So
Yeah.
it's like, here's the bar,
Yeah.
here's like a fire spinning place, here's the
Yeah.
space disco, here's the naked tent, the cuddle puddle over here. That I remember seeing, and there were people in robot kind of suits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like the quarry proper was just around the corner.
Okay.
And they used the flatter, easier place or something. But maybe I don't know if it's the right idea.
Yeah,
Just
they've shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go, it's usually the first weekend, long weekend in early October. It's a holiday.
I'll have one more question. Nori-san. Okay, if there's no more questions, please give another round of applause.
Thank you.